Yes, we're talking about $5.3 billion approximately. That was over a 7-year period. How did we get there? We get that from CRA's numbers. Their numbers are issued each year, and they reflect the amount of money that they actually are providing taxpayers, that they're approving tax credits.
So you established $5.3 billion. What the community is asking, what are some of the factors that led us there? Can you share with us your insights?
Yes, we can. The whole story starts with the concern of the community about their treatment in audits that occurred around 2005, and that the policies they thought the policies were being changed, and they were told they weren't. So how did we get there? Well, the next part of that story was that the minister at the time brought in a consultant who reviewed the program. He expressed a significant amount of concern about the growth rate of CRA's processing and the cost to the government each year. It was growing at a annualized rate of 11% at the time, which is large. It's very large. So we see shortly after that a very significant drop in those tax credits. In 2009-2010, the actual assistance plummeted to $3.3 billion, and that was an $800 million decrease occurred. Well, how does something like that happen? I mean, these are files that are filed. Well, it happens by a change in the way they're being processed normally. That's all we can say about it. Nobody has said it. The government has said that there was no change in policy or in the way they were treating files. But it happened.
As part of the conversation, in your view, what are some of the other possible sources of this dramatic reduction?
Well, besides CRA, there could certainly be a decision which does result in a change in interpretive policy. This legislation, as you know, because we've talked with finance about it, is complex. It is not clear. This leaves a lot of latitude for somebody to say, this is the wrong interpretation of the way this program should work. The law doesn't read that way until you go to court. And in this earlier period, there wasn't a huge amount of jurisprudence, although it's evolving. So there's
such a dramatic reduction in payouts. There must be a similar reduction in administrative costs to deliver these incentives. What are your findings there?
We aren't seeing it. It didn't happen. In actuality, the administrative costs have gone up over 10 years. They are currently around 740 PYs being used in the program, and a cost of about $85 million, versus 10 years earlier, the cost was down around $53 million. There's been about a 30–35%.
What do you see that's happening or has happened in the courts in terms of challenges?
Yes, there has been an increase in the number of court cases. I'm not sure that CRA would agree with you when they say that this is a negative, because the only way that in normal tax that you get to some understanding what that law means is for there to be jurisprudence developed. So you need court cases. That's my first comment. These court cases we're now looking at have increased significantly in the last decade, and there now is developing jurisprudence. It is mixed bag, in my opinion. Others may think differently of it, but certainly our impression is that the court cases are tending towards the positions of the community much more than the positions of CRA, although not always is the case. As I say, it's a mixed bag.
What's the call to action?
There is in place a review of the program called for in the budget. We want that review to take place. The work of the finance committee that has reviewed tax and reviewed programs, we think is a very good piece of work. And this is the next stage of that. We see that there is a lot of room for improvement of tax credits, particularly SR&ED. We are not convinced that SR&ED is the only way to go in tax credits, particularly for small businesses who want to focus on innovation, both in our sector and other sectors. But we think this discussion needs to be transparent and public, and that there needs to be a mechanism for the discussion to occur. That's not where we're at today, and we're upset.